Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Shadows Maw. I am your host, Marcus Shadow, and today I'm going to be talking about the Hobbit Movie Trilogy. It'll be my little retrospective on it. Joining me for this retrospective is a much bigger Tolkien fan than I am, because she's actually read the books, Anastasia Lazerbeam. Hello. Pew. Pew pew.
Oh, sorry, I was talking, I muted. I'm not really that big of a Tolkien fan, honestly, because I have read the books, and I didn't like any of the books at all. I only like The Hobbit. And I don't know why I read them. I didn't particularly enjoy them. Uh, yeah. So
Fair enough. But you're still more so than I am, because at least you've read the books. I haven't read the books.
I feel like I should at least try, you know. The books are, I hate the books. Hobbit's book is good. The rest of them suck. It's
Fair
terrible.
enough. But yes, so you people at home might be asking yourselves, well, why is Marcus Shadow doing a retrospective when he's already done one review of the first movie? Well, it's because we missed the second one. We were going to review it, and shit happened, and that didn't. And then the third one came out. So I was like, well, I wanted to talk about the trilogy as a whole anyway, so I was like, screw it, I'm just going to put it all together. So that's why it's this way. So we're not going to talk too much about the first one, An Unexpected Journey, because as I just said, we do have a review up. So if you want a more in-depth analysis and discussion of our opinions about The Unexpected Journey, feel free to check the Shadows Maw backlog on the X-Pound for that review. But having said that, we will at least touch upon The Unexpected Journey. And it'll be interesting because, you know, it's how we think about it now as opposed to right after we saw it. So let's talk Unexpected Journey. I actually liked this movie. I thought musically it was the best of the three. I loved the music in this movie.
The music was really good. In this
Yeah,
movie, I'm pretty sure I feel very strongly that this is the strongest out of the three movies.
the first one.
hmm
Fair enough.
This one is very, very clearly the strongest one out of the three.
Fair enough. I would tend to disagree, but it was a good movie. I feel that that the first movie more than the other two probably suffers from a lot of what the book suffers from, based on what I've heard from other reviews from people who have actually read the books. They introduce 12 friggin' dwarves plus Bilbo plus Gandalf. That's what 14 main characters, and we're supposed to
Well,
care about them when you introduce that many. It's like,
well,
right.
like in the book, I didn't care that there were so many dwarves because maybe about like half of them are actually main and the rest of them are filler. So not even all the dwarves are main characters. The only ones that I really cared about are Dory, Killy, Philly, and Dory was the one with the hat, by the way. And Killy and Philly are obviously the ones related to Thorin, younger one,
Okay.
the one who got the romance and everything. And the rest of them are just Bombord's obviously that one.
Mhm.
He's the comic relief.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. Oh, and Bolin is only significant as of his relation to Gimli in the later
Right.
movies. Otherwise, all the rest of them
Well,
are like whatever.
you should care about Thor, and he's the main character. He's the
I
king.
don't give a shit about him. He just can go off, like do whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm here for the Bilbo and the Watson and
Fair
acting as
enough.
Bilbo and
But yeah, that was one complaint I had
I
heard.
didn't particularly like Thorin in the book or in the movie, but
Fair enough. Yeah, Thorn was okay. He got
he doesn't
better.
even look like a fucking dwarf.
That was one thing that really took me aback when I saw The Unexpected Journey. I was like, wait, these are dwarves? What the hell is Peter Jackson smoking? After having watched Lord of the Rings, I'm like, okay, yeah, those actually look like what I would consider dwarves, and it was really well done, you know. Short, squat, stocky, strong, you know. And that's not easy to do when your primary dwarf in the movie is friggin' John Rhys Davies, who's like 6.5 feet tall. Because dude is tall. And to make him look like that, it's like, okay, yeah, you nailed the dwarves. And then they do this one, and Thorin walks in, and he looks like Joe regular guy with a regular build. I'm like, I'm supposed to buy he's a dwarf?
Yeah.
But yeah, that, like I said, that was one of the biggest complaints that I had heard about the book and subsequently the movie a little bit is that they introduced all those characters and didn't really develop them, so you didn't really care. Like the only dwarves I really cared about in the movie were glowing because I had seen Lord of the Rings, so I knew who he was and the significance of that character. And the actor portraying him did a really good job, and he was there quite a bit for obvious reasons. Thorin for obvious reasons because Thorin, and I think Feely, the one that fell in love with the elf with
Achilles.
Tariel. I really liked him. The others were like you said, they were just kind of there, and
Yeah.
to me, as a moviegoer and having not read the books, to me, if you're gonna have a company of main characters, every single one of them should have time devoted to them, and you should and their characters should be developed. Like if you go back to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, with the Fellowship, there were 9 Fellowship, but every single one of those characters you cared about, even
In the
Boromir, because
movie.
they bothered in the movie, yeah, because they bothered to develop them.
I didn't care, but didn't give two shits about them in the book.
Fair enough.
Then I
No,
hated
but
all the books, so.
right. But I mean, like Lord of the Rings, like he paced it out almost perfectly because, like in Fellowship of the Ring, the first like third of the movie is devoted solely to the hobbits. So you have Frodo on his own with Gandalf, and then he gets Sam, and they develop a little bit, and then they meet up with Merry and Pippin, and then they develop. So you have this progression of development because then you introduce Aragorn, so you develop him and his relationship with the hobbits, and then you learn about his backstory, and then it further develops from there. In the Hobbit, it was just like, okay, you have Bilbo, who you kind of know already anyway if you've seen the Lord of the Rings movies. Again, speaking strictly from a movie-going perspective here. So you didn't really need to develop him too much. Maybe develop some of the actor's quirks and nuances that he's put into the character. That's fair enough. And then you have Gandalf, who, again, if you've seen the movies, you know it's Gandalf. He's not going to change. And then all of a sudden you have 12 dwarves who get like little to no development. The only one that has any kind of development whatsoever is Thorin Oakenshield, which partly because you kind of have to, because his is the prologue, it's the backstory, it's the whole reason why this whole thing happens in the first place. So by the time he shows up there, you kind of know who he is and why he's there. But everybody else, you don't know, nor do you give two shits about. With one
You
possible
didn't really
exception
in the
being
Hobbit, the book either. Like I said, other than the 6 that I mentioned, they
yeah,
really didn't develop them. So.
right. And the only other dwarf that you may actually care about if you've seen the movies is Glowing, because you would know who he is. And though I think this is one place where I think the movies might have done better than the book, and as one reviewer said, and I hadn't thought about it in this way, partly because again I haven't read the book, but once he said it, I was like, that's a valid point, and that is, yes, Peter Jackson kind of almost needlessly stretched out the story. Although some of what
There's no almost about it. He did needlessly stretch out the story. There's not even an almost.
Yeah, there's a lot of filler there. I think I liked Tariel. I'm just going to put that out there. I thought she was a really good character, very well executed, and I felt it was almost needed because the entire story is all dudes. There's like no chicks, and it's like, okay, yeah, you should insert at least one chick into this. Come on.
Well, the whole thing is she's unnecessary. Legolas being this completely unnecessary. There's a lot of unnecessary things here, and they need to put all this extra stuff in because they drew it the fuck out.
This is true, but what I was getting to is I feel that the movie, I think, needed to be extended. I think Peter Jackson extended it and expanded it the wrong way because by expanding it to 3 movies, Peter Jackson gave himself the space and the time necessary to actually develop the characters. The problem is he didn't expand it in ways to develop the characters. He put a lot of extra fluff in there, and Tariel, which, like I said, I liked. That was the one expansion that I actually liked.
I do like her. I did like her character on the covers and stuff where they wanted to do strong female pose, like tits out and everything. And she said she wouldn't allow herself to be photographed for the posters in all the sexy positions that they wanted.
Well, kudos to her.
So I have to give Because, yeah, she was like, no, I will go home. She's like, I'm not going to let you photograph me. Like, this is shit. Why does he get the cool action pose and I get this shit? It's like, call me if you need me. So I, like, super respect her as an actor for that.
Yep, Evangeline Lilly's awesome. And I will say, right now, if Tariel didn't exist, I wouldn't have given two shits about Philly either. She's the only reason I even cared about... Keely? Oh, it's Keely, sorry. I knew it was one. But yeah, she's the only reason...
and they kill him.
Well, they killed him in the book, too, from what I understand.
They killed everybody in the book. It was like, hey, fuck you, have a nice ending. I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, like, she's the only reason I even cared about Keely or even knew who he was, because I liked that arc and I liked what she brought. Because, again, no estrogen in this movie. It's all testosterone. You kind of need that balance. You know, for a book, you could probably get away with it, and Tolkien kind of got away with it. He probably had other auxiliary characters that were female in the book. But in a movie... and especially a movie like this, in my opinion, you need at least one female, almost main protagonist. Otherwise, the movie's horribly unbalanced.
And also, I would agree with you for the movie sense, but the whole thing was entirely unnecessary since they killed him off anyway. I thought if they're really going to go down this line, like, they might as well change something, might as well change a bit more and make it more significant, but it really was utterly meaningless because he died. Right. So you're just making more, like, meaningless shit that doesn't matter.
Right. By the way, we should also mention for those listening, for those who haven't seen Battle of Five Armies yet, there's going to be spoilers. And so if you don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend coming back and listening to this after you see Battle of the Five Armies, or listening to this after you see it. So yeah, just throwing that out there. But yeah, Unexpected Journey, like I said, the music was great. I thought it was kind of slow and dull, but the first movies usually are. Fellowship of the Ring, the first time I saw it, I thought it was really slow and dull and nothing happened. And this movie was kind of the same way. And I'm sorry, Goblin King, just no.
Oh yeah, that was fucking... That's like the worst thing about the first movies, ballsack face King.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's just awful.
I also didn't like, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the review, and I don't know how it happened in the book. I didn't like the fact that, was it Gandalf killed him, I think? With Glamdring, and I'm like, So he gets all scared at Thorin Oakenshield because he's wielding the Orc Slayer, and Gandalf kills him with Glamdring. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Still, like, you know, wasn't a big
there was no point to the Orc Slayer if that was how you were going to kill him.
Yeah, like, again, there was, like, no point to a lot of that. Basically, at least what I remember in the book is there was a lot of fucking about, and was just an excuse for them to get separated from Bilbo so they could have that whole scene of, hey, like, we actually need him because he's back now, and huzzah, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I will say the other character that they expanded upon with this trilogy is the albino orc, the white orc. I thought he was a really cool character, and I like what they did with him. Because it's my understanding he was a very minor orc in the book that they kind of kill off in the first few chapters. Yeah. But I like that they made him kind of the main antagonist. Because, let's face it, this story needed a main antagonist because there really wasn't one, aside from Smaug, who got bitched out at the beginning of the third movie, which I understand that's how it happened in the book as well. But aside from Smaug, there was really not a main antagonist. So I'm like, okay, yeah, he works as a main antagonist. I don't know how you feel about the albino orc.
Like I said, they take a bunch of creative risks, or not risks, but whatever. They just put a bunch of shit in here that doesn't need, and they made a bunch of shit up. So yeah, the whole thing could have been done in one movie.
Maybe. But yeah, okay. So, Desolation of Smaug, by far the worst of the three movies. Oh, I did not like this movie. Like, it was pretty. Smaug looked badass, though it's my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he supposed to be covered in all that gold? Like, he uses the gold as armor?
Mm-hmm.
And they had him, like, stand up on all the gold came off, and so, I mean, granted, okay, you want to show off the dragon, fair enough. I still think it would have looked awesome if he'd have done that, and then when he decided to start fighting, the gold just kind of clung to him and became like armor plating. I think that'd be awesome. That was a little disappointing.
I will just say my second movie is probably not the worst in my opinion, just because it has all smog lines in it and it has the most amount of smog in it. So therefore,
Yeah.
by default, it beats the third one, which is like meh. But the second one also has a bunch of parts that I really hate. Like I hate the whole foresty everything. So
Mirkwood?
like what?
Mirkwood?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
you mean
like
when they're lost in the forest and shit?
yeah, because
Yeah, that was kind of
basically
dumb.
basically how it happens in the book and how I felt, because when I read this book and I was reading it, I got an extreme emotional reaction from reading this in the book. Basically what you have in the book is have people who are, they're lost, they are starving, they're talking about how they only get to eat in their dreams, so they don't even want to move anymore so they can dream about eating and not starving. They are horribly depressed, they are practically ready to eat each other, and they're like 99% chance gonna die. Like they're done. Like you know what? And that's when they get the idea, or someone gets the idea for they see a patch of light and they send Bilbo up a tree to like check it out or whatever. But like theirs would be horribly, miserably desperate, like no chance. That's it. You're done. And there was none of that here. There was like they kind of just breezed right through it. There was no
Yeah,
like holy shit we're done moments or we're done suffering, and not that I want them to or anything, but you
right,
get that feeling like
right.
this is where they're fucked right here.
Yeah, that would have been a great movie moment. Just if they had expanded that. Now that you mentioned that, it's like I kind of want to see that now. That sounds awesome.
Like horrible, horrible desperation that you don't even want to move because you want to sleep because you want to pretend you're not starving.
Yep. I also want to say one thing that I found a little unnerving about the trilogy as a whole is how many of the like iconic moments from the book, at least as I understand them to be iconic moments from the book, that they took and they modified to make it more dramatic for cinematic purposes. Like in the first movie, back to Unexpected Journey, really quick, with the trolls. In the book, doesn't Gandalf the one that talks to the trolls and just basically gets them to talk until the sun comes up?
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, they do it themselves, and then he cracks a rock to let the sun come in. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's more dramatic, it's more actiony, but that takes away from Gandalf being the one that did it. It's just like you just buried Gandalf. Good job, movie.
Well, you can't really bury Gandalf because he's fucking Gandalf, but like I guess they could try. I mean, try to give Bilbo a little more credit. Although if they actually showed like him more properly, would need to.
Yeah, well,
But
that's what I mean. They kind of buried Gandalf and some of the other characters and their iconic moments from the book to make Bilbo look better. Because in the movie, isn't it Bilbo who's talking to them and gets
yeah,
them to talk? And it's just like I'm still whole time I'm sitting there again, not having read the book. I'm sitting here thinking, wait, isn't Gandalf the one that's supposed to be doing this? And then he shows up and cracks rock. I'm like, really? That's what they did with him?
he doesn't even need to crack the rock because once daylight hits them anyway. I mean, obviously you get the first light, but they would have been done anyway. So
Yeah, I didn't like that because that's the one thing I knew of the Hobbit. That's the only thing I knew of the Hobbit aside from Bilbo, aside from things I learned in the Lord of the Rings movies. But as far as the book, even before I saw Lord of the Rings movies, that's the one thing I knew about Lord of the Rings going into this was Gandalf and the trolls. I was like, ooh, I get to see Gandalf and the trolls, and Gandalf isn't even fucking there. I'm like, really?
yeah.
No,
If you
that
want to
shit.
see a much better rendition of The Hobbit, most not really seeing it, but
Mhm.
experiencing it, go get the Hobbit GameCube game. That's an
Mhm.
awesome rendition of The Hobbit, and they should just turn all of that and the entire thing into a movie, and there you go.
Fair enough.
Because that's a really, especially the troll scene, that's a really good
Right.
one.
Right. But Desolation of Smog. Okay, the reason I hate this movie so much,
He
Benedict
doesn't
Cumber.
fucking get desolated. Sorry.
Well, there's that too, yes. But like, okay, Benedict Cumberbatch is awesome. I mean, he's Benedict Cumberbatch. Smog is awesome. Kind of wish he had the armor plating, like I said. The problem I had with this movie, way too much fucking CG, unnecessary CG, and specifically, I hate what Peter Jackson did with Legolas in this movie. They ruined him in this movie
They made
because I
him like a fucking Zoolander, like, oh, I can't bleed my own blood. Like, look at me, how awesome I am. I'm perfect, blah, blah, blah.
right. Well, I mean, like the personality of Legolas kind of works because he's supposed to be younger. This is before Lord of the Rings, and and he's being the prince of his realm, and his father's a dick. So it's like, okay, yeah, I could totally see Legolas being a racist bastard. Fair enough. character-wise, fair enough. But physically, what they did with him, and I don't know if they altered Orlando Bloom's face to make him look younger or something, but he did not look the same as Lord of the
He
Rings.
did not look like Orlando Bloom. I had to Google it because I'm like, holy shit, that's not Orlando Bloom. And then I IMDb'd it and I'm like, no, that actually is Orlando Bloom. They just did weird shit with his face. Like I think he had like a face mold on or something to make himself look younger or whatever. But you know what? It doesn't matter. He can look exactly the fucking same. You know why? Elvis don't age. That goes
That's
with
right.
the face.
It says it all when Luke Evans looks more like Orlando Bloom than Orlando Bloom does.
Yeah, and like you don't have to make them look any younger or older. They're immortal. They don't age, so it doesn't matter. This was completely unnecessary.
Because I swear, when they got to Lake Town and Bard came out, I swear the first thing I said was, "Is that Orlando Bloom?" Because he looked like spot on Orlando Bloom.
He did. He looked like Will from frickin' Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, he
Doesn't
did.
Yeah, I was like, look, there's Will. Say hi to Legolas there. It's just all of his characters all together, you know?
Yeah, but oh god, what they did with Legolas, just unnecessary CG, and like I said, they ruined him. Because in the first movie, he was an elf, so they had him do some acrobatic stuff. Took down a Mumakil on his own, took down, got up on the troll, shot the troll in the head, did stuff that only elves could do, right? Fair enough. In this movie, now, granted, I will say they made him a badass, which was kind of cool. But in doing so, not only did they ruin the character, but they basically made half of Lord of the Rings like unnecessary because they turned him into like friggin' Nightcrawler from the X-Men. Like he was like jumping through the trees, like
Naruto jumping.
yeah, Naruto jumping. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he's doing that and doing like super acrobatic stuff with like weapons and stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, wait, so this whole time Legolas can Naruto jump through trees? Yeah, so where was that when Boromir was getting fucking shot multiple times by a goddamn Uruk-hai? Oh no, Legolas has to run through the woods. No, jump up in the trees.
Also, standing on people's heads while in the river, moving around, highly improbable. I don't even care if you're an elf.
Yeah. And I understand Peter Jackson was probably looking for some Legolas moments, which is fair enough, but turning him into Naruto and basically making Boromir's death completely pointless, yeah, I have to say fuck you, Peter Jackson. And that was probably the thing that hurt me the most, was the fact that they made Boromir's death pointless, because that was such a great scene in the first trilogy. In the
Fuck
first
you
movie.
and all your Persian whores.
What?
Oh, not you. I'm saying Peter Jackson, because I imagine that's what guys buy when they have too much money. They buy Persian whores.
Fair enough.
So fuck him and his 40 Persian whores.
Fair enough. But yeah, I'm just like, it's just you ruined Legolas. Because that was the one thing I loved about the original trilogy, which I'll get into when I do the original trilogy reviews, which I plan to do. But quick tease for that now. I loved that he and his team, the Weta Digital and all that, they went out of their way to give weight to every single character, especially the main characters in that movie. They went out of their way, whether you love or hate Gollum, they went out of their way to weight every single one of his movements, so he didn't seem superhuman, so he didn't seem like he was this godlike figure. He had to expend energy to do what he was doing, and they did that for all the characters, including Legolas. They still made you believe Legolas was more than human, that he could do these almost superhuman things, but he had to work to do it. In this movie, they were just like, nope, he's fucking Superman. I'm just like, no. And just the sheer amount of CG they use in this movie, Legolas notwithstanding, is just staggering. And I'm sorry, the CG in this trilogy, not as good as the original trilogy. And I think it's because they used way too much CG, because in the original trilogy they actually used, as much as possible, they used the real thing. They used miniatures and stuff. And everyone, on the crew, all the Weta Digital and those people, they've gone on record as saying multiple times, if you could do it using actual stuff, using miniatures and stuff, is always better than going pure CG. And in this trilogy, Peter Jackson just went to CG way too quick and way too often, in my opinion.
I agree.
Also, second movie, where was the music? There was like no music in that movie, like nothing memorable. I'm like, the only song that I would remember from that one is the overarching theme, the Misty Mountains one, because that's the dwarf's theme. So whenever they're on the screen, you hear that song. Or they're doing something epic, you hear the instrumental of that song. but there was like no original music for the second movie, and I didn't like that.
There was not.
Yeah,
The only music you got, the only music that I remember is the ones at the cutscene, is the end credits. That's the only ones that I remember.
yeah, the end credits musics are always good, but yeah, oh, did not like the second movie. I mean, if you can get past all the elf and most of the CG stuff, and if you could get to Smaug, the Smaug stuff was fucking awesome. See, that's where CG was used well. That looked fucking amazing. But everything else, not so much. Also, I have to say, for being called Thorin Oakenshield, how come he never uses a shield, oak or otherwise?
I think in the first movie, it was, he left his oaken shields after the eagles carried him off, so he doesn't have it anymore.
Which is fine, but he could still use a shield. I mean, even, and we'll go into this now, because we'll move on to Battle of Five Armies. In the Battle of Five Armies, where he has his fucking, like, fortress back, and can make weapons, and he has his armory, not once does he pull a fucking shield out, and he wonders why he fucking gets gutted. It's like, your name is Oakenshield. Come out with a shield.
Yeah, he's not into shields. He's more into smashy smashy.
No, your name is Oakenshield. That goes against your name, dude. Worst king ever. My name is Oakenshield, and I don't use one. Really?
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
not a single one of them use shields, which is hilarious because the dwarves that come down with his cousin or uncle or whatever, they all have shields to the point that they form a phalanx unit that the elves jump off of. I'm like, okay, so your cousin or uncle, whoever that is smart enough to bring people with shields, and you're not, and you're the king. Yeah, your people
No
are
one
doomed.
said he's a good one. Or even that the king was, even though a king was necessary, that or needs to be a king.
Right.
Because
I mean,
he dies, so spoiler, he dies. So he's not for king very long.
I mean, at least Aragorn had an excuse to not use a shield because he uses a two-handed weapon, so he can't physically hold a shield, which makes sense. But Thorin uses a one-handed, like, axe or a sword. He never uses a two-handed weapon.
He kind of changes it up. He doesn't even stay consistent to the weapon.
That's true too. And that's fine. I mean, especially in war, you're gonna pick up whatever weapons on the ground. But yeah, it's just like, that. And sometimes Aragorn will dual wield because he has that elven knife for like 2/3 of the trilogy. But yeah, it's like you have no excuse. It's in your name. It's like, oh, you're an idiot. But yeah, Battle
His
of
name
the
is
Five.
just Thorin now.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just Thorin.
His name is 6 feet under as far as Middle Earth is concerned.
Ah.
But yeah, Battle of the Five Armies, which I felt on the whole was the best of the three movies. Again, it had better music. It actually had music compared to the second movie. But compared to the first one, not a whole lot of music. It had decent music. I loved the end credits song sung by Billy Boyd, who I wasn't aware that was Billy Boyd until I was reading the credits, and it was like performed by Billy Boyd. And I sat there and blinked, and I was listening to it. I was like, that is Billy Boyd's voice. Holy crap, he's good. Yeah, that song is amazing. The song that they got him to sing. But yeah, I felt Battle of the Five Armies was the best one in terms of the overall feel of the movie. Because to me, of the three Hobbit movies, this is the one that felt like a Lord of the Rings movie. This is the one that felt like, that style of Peter Jackson movie. Because this movie gave me what I refer to as the feels. But there was some emotional points there, and part of it also was because I'd become invested in the Tariel Keeley relationship because I really liked that relationship. I thought of all the plot threads going through the three movies, I felt that was the strongest one, and that was the one most well executed or best executed. That and because they also used that to develop Legolas, which I liked. I loved the fact that they developed Legolas to the point that by the end of Battle of the Five Armies, you could kind of see that at that point he was kind of becoming the Legolas that you would see in Rivendell in Fellowship of the Ring. Where he's starting to soften, he's starting to realize there's more to the world than racism and bigotry in his little corner of Middle Earth, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, but yeah, this one just had the feels, and to me, it hit all the right notes for a Peter Jackson, Lord of the Ring type movie, and I love that about this movie. Unlike the first trilogy, which every single movie in that trilogy had at least one point in every movie that had the feels, but this one, yeah, only the third movie had the feels, and that's probably my biggest takeaway from Battle of the Five Armies. It's just sitting there as I'm watching this movie. First of all, the battle was just amazing. And they're really, Peter Jackson's team is really good with that stuff. But throughout the whole movie, I'm sitting here just constantly repeating to myself, yes, this feels like a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movie, and this feels like what the other two should have felt like.
I guess. I mean, I went into the third movie knowing that if it's anything like the book, it's ending of the book, it's gonna be total shit. And I'm just mean in like the sense of like, yeah, I don't give a shit because nothing matters anymore because everyone fucking dies. But
Yeah.
and I felt like, but I did have a shimmer of hope that if they were gonna change like so much, why don't just give me like a happy ending? And it's like, nope, fuck you. And it's like, well, fuck
What
you too, you know.
what I was hoping for, and I kind of ruined myself or spoiled myself a little bit because I had like read reviews and stuff of other stuff and people talking about the book of how basically Smaug flies over to Lake Town and then fucking Bard kills him like outright, and then there's like a huge battle. It's like it's not over when he dies.
I
Like I
thought it
can.
was fucking cool how he killed them. He used
Oh
his
yeah.
own boy as like a friggin' like to study the
Yeah.
arrow or whatever, and that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, the way he killed him was awesome, but I went into this movie already knowing, okay, yeah, Smaug's going to die in the first 10 minutes of the movie, but I was hoping that since Peter Jackson had changed so much with the first two, I was hoping he wasn't going to kill Smaug and that he'd be the final boss because I'm like, because people had complained about that about the book, how most of the book is building up to this. They keep talking about this ancient dragon Smaug who killed Thorin's father or grandfather or whatever, and like took over the mountain and has been terrorizing people. Forced the people of Dale out to Lake Town. Da, da, da. So they're building him up as this giant, credible threat. And then, not like 5 minutes after you meet him, he gets an arrow through the heart and dies. I'm like, that's
That's
kind of
like the
anticlimactic.
that's like the third friggin' Lord of the Rings book where hey friggin' he throws the ring in the volcano and everything's resolved. Now read the rest of the book, which is like it could right. It's like almost right in the exact middle where like he throws
Right.
like the ring into the Mount Doom, and it's like now read the rest of the shit that no one gives a shit about.
Yeah, and
And
Peter Jackson changed all that because in the book, doesn't Saruman survive because he has to scour the Shire?
yep,
But in the movies, they kill him, which I thought worked a lot better because, just like you said, once the ring goes in, that should be it, and that was pretty much it. And all Peter Jackson did after that was just some wrap up with the characters to get like the hobbits back home and to get Aragorn king, which you kind of have to do. But aside from that, there was nothing else. There was no other big villain. That was the big climactic moment, and then it's just kind of the it's over after that, and people picking up their lives, which, you know, despite the fact that people complain about how many endings Return of the King has, like the movie, like the filmmakers, I kind of agree they needed to be there because you've got so many characters that you've gone 3 movies with. You kind of need to wrap all of them up. But with this one, it's like, and especially in the movie, because they did a really good job in the first 2 movies building up Smaug to be this badass dragon that nobody can kill that's terrorized half of Middle Earth, and they cast Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug, and you're just gonna basically bitch him out in the first 5 minutes of the third movie, really? It's like, oh, come on, Peter. The one time most people would have been okay with you taking artistic license to not kill, to not do that, and you go and fucking do that. It's like, oh. That disappointed me. I was like, oh, I was kind of hoping he'd stick around. However, I kind of understand why you have to do it because him attacking Lake Town is the whole impetus for the Battle of the Five Armies. Without that event taking place, you don't have the battle. Because of that, the people of Lake Town have to flee, and they flee to Dale because Bard takes charge. And that's where the Battle of the Five Armies takes place. Without Smaug dying in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you don't have a third movie, basically. Which, an argument could be made either way, but I'm sorry, I'd rather have the third movie because let's be honest, the Battle of the Five Armies is pretty much the only large-scale battle you have in the entire trilogy. And
This is true.
and after two movies of almost little to no combat, I'm sorry, I want to see some badass just destroy the orcs. I want to see a giant fucking fight. That just might be the adolescent in me. That might be the mainstream in me. But I'm fucking sorry. I love characterizations. I love story. But if you're gonna do three movies, one of them you better give me some fucking blood. I'm sorry. I don't know if you agree with that, Stace, but that's
Yeah. The whole thing wasn't really about like fighting anyway,
right.
so I didn't care really either way. And if I really wanted to watch awesome fighting, I just watched Two Towers again. So.
There you go. Yeah.
But it didn't really matter. I mean, I don't know. I guess this portion of the story I didn't particularly like, and I don't know. I mean, if you like this part of the story, and you wanted to see it, sure. It just, I don't know. Didn't do anything for me.
You had no interest after Smaug bit it, huh?
Yeah, it's like I don't give a shit. The dragon's done. Like, and the whole thing is all this fucking fighting is literally for fucking nothing. It's like the whole thing is friggin' pointless. It's just this movie is pointless shit. That's all it is. It's just pointless blah blah blah. It's all like it's filler of the movie because it doesn't matter. You killed the dragon and then everything else doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. Everything's all resolved. People are fighting over absolutely literally nothing, and that's it. It just
I don't know about literally nothing because the treasure hoard is still there. So that's what they're fighting over.
Yeah, but like it could have easily been like resolved like forever ago, and now like everyone's consistent fighting, so it's for nothing now because you could have totally resolved it without fighting, but now you're fighting, so you're fighting for the sake of fighting.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, well, okay, fair enough. Peter Jackson did it for a few reasons. Probably one, to try to at least stay as faithful to the book as he could or as he felt he was going to do, and it did happen in the book, so fair enough. He kind of felt obligated to do it.
Yeah, but it
was also that battle set up some of the like political stuff and some of the stuff from Lord of the Rings. Like I said, it set up Legolas for who he would become in Lord of the Rings. You saw him start down that path.
It did.
I
don't know. It just seemed stupid to me. I mean, I know they had to do it as a ploy to trigger all these other things, but like it was just like this is so unnecessary. Everyone just go home and play video games.
Yeah, I can kind of understand and agree with that. It felt like a lot of
just kind of an excuse for other stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the reasons behind it were kind of necessary for future stuff. At the same time, it almost felt like Peter Jackson did the Battle of the Five Armies because he wanted another giant fucking battle in his movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you wanted the battle in the movie, maybe you should have taken more liberties with it and crafted the story in a way that the battle would make sense and you would keep your people's interest because, yeah, as you pointed out with yourself, once Smaug bit the dust, you didn't care. And I'm sure a lot of people were the same way. And it's just like, well, people are coming to the movie to see Smaug. And you're going to kill him off in the first 5 minutes of the movie. What do you have that's going to keep them interested in the rest of the movie? Especially if they feel like you do, Stace, that anything after that is basically filler.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I like the movie just because of how it felt. I agree with the filler thing, but I like how it felt. Like through the battle and stuff. And like I said, I'll admit, I kind of got giddy when the big battle, because it's called Battle of the Five Armies. I'm like, okay, I'm expecting giant-ass battle. And and I know Peter Jackson can do giant-ass battles because Lord of the Rings. And when the Elven army came up and then the Dwarven army came up and the Orc army came up, I'm like, okay, this is going to be either suck balls or be completely epic. And I was not disappointed in the fight.
I mean, if that's what you're here to see, you're definitely going to get it. So if you're like, oh, bring on all the warriors and see some cool action shit, boom, it's right there for you.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to really say definitively which of the three movies I thought was the better movie.
First one. Hands down. Shut the fuck up. No, I'm just messing with you.
Because in terms of story and in terms of relevance, the first one was far and away the best one. However, like I said a little bit earlier, the third one to me is the one that felt most like a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movie, and that's what I really loved about it. And that's what kept me in the seat was the fact that I was just like, yes, this is awesome. This is what it should feel like.
For me, it's just the first one. I think had the best part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
At least not in the book, the best part of the story, because I actually like the middle and the forest part the best, because that's the most where I was like really in it, and that's why it pissed me off that it messed it up so much. But in like this is the part that they think they adapted from the book the best and made it the most entertaining and had the best music, and generally the best acting was done in the first part, I think. So, but I don't know. Everyone have their own opinion. It's totally cool.
Yeah, I
Everybody
can kind of agree with that. Yeah, that's true. I could kind of agree with that. Except, like I said, I really liked Tariel, who didn't really show up until the second movie, and I loved Bard the Bowman. Luke Evans was probably my favorite actor of this entire trilogy. That character was probably my favorite character of the entire trilogy.
That's fair enough.
You know, but as a whole, I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy is better than this one.
Yes, I agree. But you know what's even better? Watch Sherlock. If you want to see Bilbo and something even cooler, watch Sherlock, because that's even fucking amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you want to see Smaug in something better, watch Star Trek Into Darkness. Because him is Khan, holy crap. Which you'll hear about on the X-Pound, because that is the last movie we will be reviewing at the end of this year.
And you can also see him in Sherlock as well. Everybody, you have no reason not to watch Sherlock. Watch it right now.
But yeah, if you're a fan
you have to make Jim review it so we can talk about it more.
Well, he might actually review it because he's watching. He likes it, so I don't think it'd be a stretch for him to review it. But if you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings, book or movies, especially the movies, I would at least give this trilogy a watch and form an opinion for yourself. Because you may like certain things and hate certain things about it that we didn't. You may like the second movie for all we know. Because the second movie itself isn't terrible. It's just of the three the worst, in my opinion. I didn't like what they did with some of the stuff in the excessive CGs.
And also, these movies are chock full of random things. So, because they're telling so many multiple stories that more than likely you're going to be going into that movie wanting something that me or Jeff didn't want. And you're going to like that thing. Because, like I said, there's so many different things and plots happening in the giant Lord of the Rings universe that there's probably going to be a portion or something you're going to like, or one little skitty thing.
Yeah.
So...
And that's actually a really good point you bring up, Stace. The pacing of this trilogy is terrible compared to the first one. Because the first trilogy, it ramped up. The first movie, you didn't have many branching plots. You had a couple with a couple different characters, but it wasn't enough to make you all confused. You go to the second movie, there's more branching plots because the Fellowship has broken up, so you're following different characters. Then it further breaks up into the third movie where everybody's fucking on their own, and then they come back together at the end. So you had the multiple branching plots, but it didn't hit you in the face with it right out of the gate. It built up to it. It let you, this trilogy let you live with the characters and, like the characters, figure out what characters you liked and didn't like, and just got to know the characters so that when it branched out, you could actually follow it. In this trilogy, like I said, again, part of it because you have 12 fucking dwarves that do almost nothing. They hit you in the face with it almost out of the gate of, yeah, you're going to have a bunch of different storylines to deal with it. And it's just like, really? I'm sorry, I can't get over 12 dwarves and you only care about 2 of them. Or 3 of them in this case because of the movie. And it's just like, oh, no.
You got blades, you got inner wizard politics, you got romance, you got some other romance, you got some prince, king, elf shit, you got all this other shit going on.
You got multiple romance plots because you got the Gandalf Galadriel one too.
Yeah,
which is another one I thought they did well. That was fucking awesome. That
inner wizardry, politics versus credibility of wizard, blue, brown, white, gray, nonsense or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I have to admit though, that fight was probably the highlight, if not the second highlight for me, because I'm sorry, Sauron just going ape shit on the ring wraiths, that was badass.
That was pretty cool.
I am
It's interesting to
Sauron the
see
White.
him. Oh, another thing was really weird. I think they fixed this in the third one, but in the first two, and maybe they fixed the second one, but I remember definitely they fixed it in the third one. His beard and his hair doesn't fucking match, and it's not like it doesn't match like it's weird, but he has like stark white hair and like a
Yeah.
dark gray beard. What the fuck? Did he just borrow one of the freaking beards of the dwarves and stick it on? No one will notice. Like, they fixed
Might
it in the
have.
third one where they both were the same, like, color and hair consistency. Like, you can't tell me you have, like, crazy platinum, like iron your hair or flat
Yeah.
iron your hair for, like, 6 hours hair, and then a curly-ass beard that's a completely different color. What the fuck? Like, seriously.
Yeah, they
How
might
does
have
that happen? How does that fucking happen? That you spend, like, 6 million hours freaking flat ironing your hair, and you dye it white, and you don't even bother dyeing your hair? Any fashionista, someone will tell you, any fashionista who has spent that long on their hair is gonna do the beard as well.
Yeah,
So,
well, this
like,
is again
what?
probably a fake beard like it was in the first
I
trilogy,
told you,
but
he just probably
yeah.
snatched off one of those doors and stuck it on there because, in the
Yeah,
third movie he grew his own.
yeah, I don't know. They might have just colored it incorrectly by accident because it is supposed to be white with like the black going down the side. Because if you like watch the first trilogy, he does have like the black, but it's a white beard with his natural kind of thing, like the touch of gray type thing. But yeah, making a completely different color to his hair. No, no,
That was weird.
no. I think also they were trying to go with a younger Saruman, so his hair wouldn't or his beard might not necessarily be stark white. Which
But then why was his hair, like, stark white then? Like,
it kind of makes sense because some people their beard will get white before their hair will get completely white, or vice versa. Just because a man's hair is white does not mean his beard or even his pubes are going to be white. But different
let's
parts
grow
of your
in.
but even body hair, different parts of your body, and I'm sure women have noticed this too. But different parts of your body hair will change color at different rates. All your body hair is
Okay.
not necessarily going to change color.
Okay,
at the same rate.
that may or may not explain their lack of decision on the color, but it doesn't
Sure.
it doesn't say the consistency. If you're gonna flat iron your hair and spend like 6 hours on it, you're gonna do the beard too.
True. Yeah, curly, yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah. If you're gonna spend so long on your hair, you're gonna do the beard, or maybe you crimped your beard and you just wanted that to be curly. You're gonna crimp your hair too.
See, the thing is, you can explain away the color, but you can't explain away the color in this instance because, as you pointed out, in the third movie, they fixed it and made it stark white. So, obviously, it was supposed to be stark white, and they fucked up.
Yeah.
Now, if they'd have kept it light gray throughout all three movies, then okay, yeah, you could have the explanation of, okay, well, he was a younger Saruman, so he wasn't completely stark white beard at that point yet. But, yeah, consistency issues.
Yeah.
But
All
no,
right. So.
I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
You want to give your final thoughts of the trilogy as a whole, and then
The trilogy as a whole is. Can I give it a U for unneeded? But no, it's okay. I mean, it's not like terrible. I'd probably give it like a 6.5 or something as a whole. The first movie gets like, I don't know, an 8, and then the second one and the third one get like, I don't know, an E for existence, and that's about it.
fair enough. Well, your actual rating for the first one can be found in the review, because I'm sure you rated it in the review.
Oh, I wonder if I did the same thing. I don't even know if I did. That'd be funny if I didn't.
Well, hey, it's been, what, 2 years since you saw the movie, so your opinion
Yeah.
can be 2 years.
I mean, maybe it's even higher because, like, by comparison.
Comparing the other two, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. That'd be funny.
Yeah, I recommend at least giving this a watch if you're on the fence about it. And especially if you're a fan of either the books or the movies, more the movies than the books. But even if you're only a fan of the books, give it a watch, give it a rent. You can rent the movies just for a couple of bucks. I mean, hell, you could probably rent it on something like I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime. It probably is. You could probably go there and rent the high def version for like $5 or something. It's kind of cheap. Red box it, what have you. But I think you owe it to yourself to at least give it a watch and form your own opinion. You'll either like it or you'll hate it. There's not too much middle ground with this trilogy, unfortunately. As a trilogy, I didn't really like it. I liked parts of it, and I liked parts of it enough that I do plan to buy the trilogy. I don't know if I'm going to buy it when it comes out as a because I know there's inevitably going to be the extended trilogy set version. I'm considering that, but I also have a feeling because it's Peter Jackson and because studios like money. I also have a feeling there's probably at some point going to be a J.R.R. Tolkien set of all 6 movies.
I got the first 2 for like $20 together already, so.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's on Blu-ray, of course, because I don't even go back to fucking DVDs. But yeah, they're not like bad now, so you might want to buy it now before they up the price again, because they're gonna when they come out with a third like whatever thing, they're gonna up the price of all 3 again, and
Yeah, well, if
it's
anything,
sad.
I'm going to buy the trilogy because the only thing I'm thinking right now that might prevent a 6-movie box set from coming out is the fact that the first trilogy was made by New Line and the second trilogy I think is Warner Brothers, so it's actually 2 different studios.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So unless Warner Brothers and New Line come to an agreement to sell an entire set, that might not happen. I hope they do, but if I see the trilogy extended version come out without an announcement of the big set, I will probably pick up the trilogy. That and I kind of want to complete the set anyway. But yeah, go check it out for yourself. The entire Hobbit trilogy, I would probably I'll give it a 7. There was enough good stuff in the movie for me to say, or in the trilogy, for me to say the trilogy as a whole is worth it to watch. Now, whether it's worth it to buy, I'll leave that up to the individual person, but I think it's definitely worth at least a watch. And it's probably a good movie or good movie trilogy to watch with a significant other, with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I don't know if you watched any of them with your boyfriend, but
I watched all 3. I watched the first 2 in the one day, and then the afternoon after next day we watched the third one in the movie theater.
Nice.
So yeah, if your dude, a friend or guy wants some action for the third one, go. There's some romance and shit in the first and second. And if you really don't really care what you're watching, totally go check it out.
Yep, absolutely.
If you need an excuse just to go to the movies, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely, or get a Peter Jackson fix. But yeah, there are many inexpensive options if you just want to watch it. So go ahead and check those out. So yeah, for Anastasia Lazerbeam, I was your host, Marcus Shadow. Thank you, Stacy, for joining me for this retrospective on the Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah.
And for those listening, feel free to leave comments below or on the board. Tell us what you thought of the trilogy, what moments you liked or didn't like, and what you liked and didn't like in the trilogy and why. And until the next Shadow's Maw, which I think my next one is in 2 weeks. It's going to be episode 2 of the Year of Trek here on Shadow's Maw, where we will be taking a look at the Wrath of Khan. So until then, have a good evening, everyone.
Yay!